Hello everyone, in today's tutorial we'll see how to create this disintegration effect that you can see in here using Adobe Photoshop. Alright, so let's get to it. Alright, now before we're gonna start creating this effect, make sure to download this texture that we'll be using as a background and this debris brushes that we'll be using also for this effect. You will find it down in the link from the description below. And lastly, it will be this cloud image that will create actually a brush from scratch from it. Alright, so let's go ahead and open Photoshop, and then I will open the image in here. And the first thing that we are going to do is to cut the image. So I will be using the quick selection tool, and I will make a selection. It's not like something fancy, we just need a really simple selection. Alright, now we need to improve the hair selection, so I will open the select and mask, and I will be using the refined edge to do that. And you know, if you find it like this, it's because the opacity of your black background is not 100%, so I'm gonna put 100% in it, and then I will improve the hair selection using the refined edge. So I will try to cover all the hair that we miss from selecting. Alright, this will work, and the whip is okay. Alright, now I will apply a layer mask on it, and as you can see it will apply the selection on a layer mask, but as you can see we still have some transparent in the hair that we need to fix. So how are we gonna do that? So I will be using the classic mode, which is the dodge tool, to do that. So I will select my dodge tool, and I will make sure that the range is set to highlight, and for the exposure you can put 100%, it doesn't matter. And then I will make sure that I'm selecting the layer mask, and I will just brush over this area that it's not 100%. And how this works, actually it's just make all the gray area that is inside the white area in here, it will make it disappear, and put more highlights, and that will make it disappear. It's easy as that. Alright, I think we have a really good selection. Now I will go ahead and open the texture that we'll be using as a background. So I will open it in a new tab by dragging it just right here, and then I will switch to my move tool, and I will go back to the image, and I will drag it to the background image in here. Alright, now I'm gonna press Ctrl T or Command T, and I will zoom out, and then I will scale it down using Shift Alt or Shift Option on a Mac, and I will make it smaller so it will fit just right here. So I will move it a little bit so we can have this space to create the effect. So I think around here it will work. Alright, and I will one click on this check mark. Alright, now we have our image in here ready. We're gonna go and create our brush. So I will open my brush first, which is this one. So I will load it in Photoshop. To do that, you just double click on it, and now if I go to my brushes, I will find it in here loaded as a folder, as you can see. Alright, now I will go and open the image that we'll be using to create our brush. So I will open it in a new tab again, and then the first thing that we are going to do is to turn it to black and white. So I will go to image and choose adjustment, and then I'm gonna choose black and white. As you can see, if we keep it in the default preset in here, we'll have these noises on top that we don't want. So I'm gonna choose from the presets in here. As you can see, we have a lot to choose from. So I will start with this blue filter. As you can see, this actually works really good. So let me go and see the other ones. Now I think I'm gonna stick with the blue filter. I think it will work the best. And you can also mess around with these colors in here, but for me I'm gonna keep it like that. I think it will work really fine, and I will press OK. Alright, next I'm gonna press Ctrl L or Command L to bring the level adjustment, and I will darken the cloud a little bit so we can save it as a brush. So I'm gonna put 60 in this first slider in here, and then I will go to the third slider, and this will put more highlights, and this will affect the background of the image. This way you can really save it easily as a brush. So I'm gonna put around 184. Yeah, I think it will be okay, and the is okay. Alright, now we need to get rid of this gray that we have in the borders in here, because if we save it like this, we will see this border in our brush, and we only want this cloud. So to do that, I will use a regular brush, and I will use a white color, and I will basically just paint over all this gray borders that we have in here. But first I will right click, and I will choose 0% into hardness, and I will start painting using a white color, just like that, and I will paint this part too, so we only have the brush in the middle. Alright, as you can see, it's all white in here, so this will work. But first we're gonna save it. I will blur it a little bit, so we'll go to filter, blur, and I will choose Gaussian blur, and I will put around 2 radius pixels, because I only want to blur it a little bit, just like that, and I will press OK. Alright, now it's time for us to save it, so we'll head to edit, and I will choose define brush preset, but as you can see, it's not available, it's grayed out. So I wonder why. So the reason why, because this image is actually way bigger than 5000 pixels, and Photoshop won't allow us to save any brush that is more than 5000, so we need to reduce it. So we'll go to image size, and there we go. As you can see, in the width of the image, it's more than 5000, and it doesn't matter really if it was the width or the height, it would work the same. So I'm gonna put 5000 pixels in the width, and I will press OK. And now we will be able to save it as a brush. So if I go back to edit, I will find that define brush preset is available now, and I will one click on it, and I would give it a name, so I will name it cloud 1, and I will press OK. And there we go, we have our brush. Now I can close this, and we can start working on our image. So first I will apply this layer mask, because we only need the model. So I will right click on top of this layer mask, and I will choose apply layer mask. Alright, so I will rename this layer to model, and then I'm gonna make a copy of it. So I'm gonna press Ctrl J, and I will call this model original, and I will call the second one model liquify, because we're gonna apply a liquify filter on it. And then I will right click on this liquify layer, and I will choose convert to smart objects. This way we can work in a non-destructive way, which is mean we can always go back and adjust whatever filter that will be applied on this smart object without affecting the original image. Alright, so I will hide this model original for now, and then I will go to filter, and I will choose liquify. Alright, now we're gonna start stretching the back of the model. So this is the ugly part of this tutorial, so I'm gonna use the warp tool, and I will make my brush even bigger, and I will try to stretch all from this area in the back, without affecting the face. So I will just keep going like that. Alright, as you can see, this will work fine, but it's up to you. You can even stretch it more if you want, but for me I will just keep it like that, and I will press OK. Alright, as you can see, we have the back really stretched out. Now we're gonna apply a black layer mask on top of this liquify layer. So I will press Alt or Option on a Mac, and I will one click on this layer mask, and this will make the layer mask black, and this will make the layer disappear because it's black. Alright, now we'll go back to the model original, and I will make it visible, and I will apply a blank layer mask on it. So I will just one click on this layer mask, and it will make a white layer mask which is blank. Alright, now I will need to custom the brush that we just created. So I will right click, and I will make sure that I'm selecting it, and then I will open the brush setting from here. If you can't find it, go to Window and open it from here, or you can press F5 on your keyboard. Alright, so I'm gonna start by putting 25% or 30 in the spacing in here, and then I will open the shape dynamic by one click on it, and then I will put 100% in the size jitter, and I will keep everything in here the same except for the angle jitter. I will put around 30 to 20%, so I'm gonna keep it 25, and I will keep everything in here off except for this flip Y jitter and flip X jitter. Alright, now I will go to the scattering, and I will put a check mark on the both axes, and then I will put around 10 to 5% in the count jitter. So I'm gonna keep it 7, and I will keep everything in here the same. And next I will go to dual brush this time, and this will allow me to add another brush on top of this one using the blending mode in here. So I will be using the same brush that I just created, which is this one in here. As you can see, if I hover over it, I can see the cloud 1, that's what we name it. So I will select it, and I will put down the size of it actually to around 2000 pixels. Alright, and for the spacing I will put 20% or 30, so I'm gonna keep it 22%, and for the count I will put 5 or 4, so I will keep it 4, but for the blending mode I will change it to multiply instead of color burn, and this will create this kind of brush in here. So actually I'm gonna put around 26 in the scattering. As you can see the preview in here, so I'm gonna put 26% in the scattering. Alright, so the last thing that we are going to add for this brush is the transfer in here. So I'm gonna select it, and then in the opacity jitter I'm gonna put 50%, and you can just put off for the control. That's if you're not using a pen or a Wacom tablet. For me, I'm not using it for now, so I'm gonna change it to off. And for the flow jitter I'm gonna put also 50%, and again I will put off for the control, and I will keep everything in here the same, and we are done creating our brush. So I'm gonna save it by one click on this new custom brush icon, and I will name it Cloud Custom, and make sure to put a check mark for this 2 in here and press OK. And now we have our own custom brush, but the reason why we can't see it because it's really in a big size. So I will right click, and I will bring down the size to around 100 pixels, or and now we can start deleting from the back of the model. So I will make sure that I'm selecting the layer mask in here, and I'm using black in my foreground color, and the opacity is 100%, and I'm gonna start deleting, just like that. As you can see, because it's a custom brush, it will do a really good job in here. Alright, so something like this, it will work for now, but obviously you can always go back and adjust this. So I'm just gonna keep it like this, and then I will select my other layer, which is the liquify layer in here, and then I'm gonna select the black layer mask this time, and I will double click on it, and this will open the properties panel in here. If you double click on it and it didn't open, and the select and mask open instead, you can close that, and just select the layer mask, and then go to window and choose properties from here, or you can load it from here. And now I'm gonna put around 70% in the density, so this way you can see where we want to use our brushes. As you can see, we'll have this little preview in here, which will be really helpful for us to see exactly where to use the brush. So now I will right click, and I'm gonna use one of these debris brushes. As you can see, we have a lot, and they are in a really good resolution. So I think I'm gonna choose this one. Yeah, I think this will work really good. Now we need to use a white color in the foreground instead of black, because we have a black layer mask, which is mean we need the opposite of the color. So for us to reveal what is, in the layer. Alright, so I will make sure that I'm using white, and I'm selecting the layer mask, and I will go over here, and I will one click like that. And as you can see, this will immediately create this really awesome effect for the hair, which is look really good. Now I'm gonna use another brush, so I will right click, and I will choose another brush from here. So I'm gonna go with this one, and check that out. If I right click, I can rotate my brush, which allow me to choose the perfect angle for the effect. So I think this angle would work really good for this one. So I will go over here, and I will one click like that. As you can see, it will create this really awesome disintegration effect in here. Alright, so I will right click again, and I will choose another brush for this bottom part in here. So I will go with this one, and again I'm gonna rotate my brush. So I will right click, and I will rotate it just right here. I think it would work, or even rotate it more. And I will one click like that. Alright, so let's use another one. So I will go back, and I will choose another brush, maybe this one, and this time I'm gonna use it in a really small size, just right here. So I will one click like that. Alright, now I will go and open the properties icon of the layer mask by double click on it, and then I will bring back the density to 100%. And there we go, we have our cool disintegration effect. As you can see, now we can see it really clearly. Alright, I like that, but I think I will go back to this first layer and adjust using my custom brush in here. So I will right click and choose this custom brush that we just created, and I will put down the size of it. Alright, and again I will use a black color, or you can switch between black and white to bring back from the model. So by pressing X on your keyboard, you can switch between the white and black, which is really helpful. So I'm gonna start adjusting this in here. Alright, so I think this will work. You can always go back and adjust it even more. You will always have different results every time you create this effect. Alright, so for me, I'm gonna keep it like this, and we're almost done. So now I'm gonna make a copy of this background layer. So we select it, and then I'm gonna press Ctrl J, and then I'm gonna blur it a little bit. So I will go to Filter, Blur, and I will choose Gaussian Blur, and I will give it around 5 to 6 pixel radius in here. So I will put 5.4, or I think I'm gonna put 5 pixel. Alright, and as you can see, this will make the image even stand out, because the background is blurred, and all the focus on this disintegration effect, which looks really good. And you can always bring down the radius. I think I will put around 4, so we can still see some of the details of the texture. I think this looks really nice, so I'm gonna keep it like that, and I will press OK. Alright, so the last thing that we are going to do is to add a little bit of adjustment on the model. So I'm gonna select these two layers by pressing Ctrl, and then I'm gonna put them in a group. So I'm gonna press Ctrl G, and I will call this group model. And next I would go to adjustment, and I would choose curve adjustment, and then I would one click on this icon so we can clip it to this folder alone. So if I one click on it, you can see this little down arrow that is pointing to this folder, which is mean that whatever we do with this adjustment, it will only affect what is inside this folder that we created. Alright, so I'm gonna make one point in here, and I will bring it up a little bit so we can brighten the image, and I will make another point, and try to adjust the tone of the image a little bit so we can see it really clearly, and I will make another point just right here. Just adjust it to whatever you think it's working for you. So I think I would keep it like this. I want to brighten it just a little bit. Alright, and you can always hide it and see the before and after. As you can see, it does really work. You can see the details even better. And you can always go back and put the opacity to around 70%. Alright, now we'll go to adjustments again, and this time I'm gonna choose levels, and I will leave the levels without a clipping mask so it will affect all the layers in here. So I will go to the channels, and I will choose red, and I will add some of the colors using this slider. So I'm gonna use this first slider to add some colors in here, just a little bit, not that much. And then I will go to the blue, and I will do the same, just like this. I think it will look really good. And you can always bring down the opacity. I really like to put 70% in the opacity for all the adjustments, so you can do that if you want. Now the last adjustment that I'm going to add is a photo filter. So I will go to adjustments again, and I will choose photo filter in here. And you can choose from this filter's colors in here, or you can choose your own color by one click on this color in here, and pick a color. But for me, I'm gonna choose underwater color in here. I think it will work really good, as you can see. And then I'm gonna put down the density of it to around 20%. And you can always go back and hide it to see the before and after. Yeah, I think it will work really good. And that will be all. So I hope that you enjoyed and you liked this tutorial and it was a little bit helpful for you. Don't forget to subscribe and comment, and let me know if you tried this effect. I would love to see your results, and have a nice day. Thank you for watching.